Yeah, chalo, we are live. Okay, so today, welcome guys. First IPL third round review. So let's get started straight away. First game, Chennai versus Rajasthan Royals. I think Chennai, like, let's go with first Chennai's innings. I think Chennai batted like they were
Not.
started straight away. First game,
Oh yeah.
Chennai versus
1 minute.
Rajasthan Royals.
Yeah.
So Chennai basically were good enough. I don't think so the best batting you could ever want in a Wankhede pitch, but then you had Rajasthan Royals faltering all the way along, and that was, I think, more or less the game. Once the ball changed, with Josh Butler hitting that six, I think the ball changed. That was more or less changed the whole complexion of the game. What are your thoughts, guys?
Yeah, I think you could say that after that ball change, when it started turning a little bit, Dhoni and CSK were completely different. It seemed like a test match at Chepauk, and things were happening, and the ball was turning a little bit. The batsmen were finding it difficult to even touch the ball. Yeah, so I think that really changed everything. And apart from that, I think RR were just trying to execute their own, you know, strategy of tonking the ball, and it didn't pay off because I think the boundary they were targeting was the longer one, and Dhoni was very smart in that regard.
Mm. Well, we heard last night from KL Rahul that that they should change the ball because dew plays a massive part. Even Dhoni has talked about it that
Hmm.
if we have because of the earlier start, there is one team which doesn't have to have which balls with no dew conditions, and the other team has to ball completely in dew. So,
Hmm.
Karthikeya, what are your thoughts on that comments?
Uh, I mean, today was there due? I don't think there was due today, right? According to
There
Sanju
wasn't too
Samson.
much due today. Yeah, yeah.
Right. But if you're gonna come up with a rule saying you change the ball, how periodic should it be, right? All that is arbitrary.
Hmm.
So, yeah, there are
Mm.
And
going
the
to
balls
be,
you get are also random, right? So you don't have control over that, and that becomes a variable.
exactly. So
Yeah,
there
so
are
it's
going
a
to
very
be so
messy
many,
solution.
right? It's probably gonna make it less random in terms of whoever wins the toss wins the game, but yeah, there's so many things that need to be ironed out before that. So
Yeah.
I'm not sure how that would work.
Okay, so anyone wants to talk about Moeen's performance today? 26 with the bat. Okay, and then to top it off, three wickets as well of Rajasthan's innings. I think before that, he basically killed the game. Once the game was almost dying, but he killed the game for Rajasthan at that point with his three wickets. Yash, any thoughts on Moeen's performance?
Yeah, the batting absolutely in line with what he's done in all three games. This was his slowest inning so far in this season, but you can see it's a very specific role, right? The initiation of any kind of intent in the CSK innings. I mean, today Faf played. Faf was brilliant in the power play overs, but you've seen Moeen taking the attack, taking the onus from number three. I mean, obviously his middle over numbers have been crazy over the last 2 3 years. He's also very good against spin, and that's been coming to the fore with the ball. I think, yeah, obviously it was a phenomenal spell, but the damage kind of started in the over before that, where Jadeja got those wickets. Jadeja getting Butler, I think, had to be a bit of a turning point in this game, and to follow it up with Dubey, and then what? I think they ended up losing pretty much 4 wickets in the space of those two Jadeja and Moeen overs, which completely, ended the game. Whatever little chance Rajasthan had left after Butler was dismissed. I
Yeah.
actually have a bit of a take on Chennai's batting. I mean, I know when you won by 45 runs, you're not thinking too much about the score,
Hmm.
but a very interesting comment, which I was happy to hear from Dhoni, about how the first 6 balls he faced could have lost them another game. I think this innings was of two CSKs. The CSK batting innings was the one-time best of CSK against the rest of CSK. You look at Dhoni and
Hmm.
Raina; they did everything to basically play the kind of match-losing innings, which I think we're going to get into greater detail about. KL Rahul. Uh, but the two of them together, 36 runs in 5.2 overs. The
Hmm.
rest of CSK batted at 9.3 per over today. Even that 188, let's face it, with their bowling attack, you would have felt ginger about that score. Like you guys mentioned, Dew didn't come in today, and their spinners were able to come to the party. If this was a regular Wankhede template game, I don't think 188 was a total that you could have felt anywhere safe about, especially with the kind of bowling CSK has. So
R.
those two.
Hmm.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so RR suck against spin. The entire batting lineup, they can't play spin. So they kind of got lucky there that the ball was gripping a little bit. RR probably have the best pace power hitting lineup in the entire tournament. But if you look at them one by one, all of them struggle against spin, including Butler, David Miller, Samson, and who else? Rian Parag. All of them struggle against spin. So that's where the choke started, right? And I think they got lucky that the ball change happened right when spin was getting into the game.
Mm.
That's what, considering they still have another couple of games to play at Wankhede. Fine,
Hmm.
this happened today and it worked out well. That a team which didn't have great players of spin, you got to bowl to them on the one day where the conditions didn't impact your spinners much. But I think even Dhoni mentioned that from what they were looking at, they did feel they were at least 10, 12 runs short. And you saw it. I think they had scored exactly the same score in their first game as well, right? Against Delhi. I think the score was
Yeah.
188 in that game too.
Yeah,
And
but
you saw that game didn't even go into the final over. So the amount of, like it was completely, I don't know, life draining innings almost. Like it was really blood sucking innings from both of them. One batting at 4, one batting at 7. It's hugely problematic, and it's not hugely problematic as a one-off. We know that this is going to be the norm with both of these batsmen. I know Raina had a great first game, but are we realistically expecting Raina to score 50 or 30 every game? I don't think so. With Dhoni, it's even worse. I mean, some of the numbers that have come out today from CricViz shouldn't surprise those who've watched the last two seasons with a neutral lens. But as someone who, as anyone who at any point admired Dhoni at any level, it will really hurt you to know that this is a guy who's averaging 5 runs in the first 10 balls of his innings in the last two seasons. For someone who comes out at, usually in the last 7, 8 overs, that is almost criminal, right?
So
I mean,
Raina's going to
Karthikeya
be
can go
fine.
first, then I can
Okay,
talk
cool.
about it.
Sure, sure.
Yeah,
Huh.
you go. You go.
So Raina's going to be fine when the opposition attack is more spin aligned, right? Because today there was only Tewatia and Parag bowling, and he took down Parag, I believe. So I think he's going to be fine with a more spin friendly attack. But my question is, should Dhoni bat above Dwayne Bravo?
Yeah, actually, I
Because
was going to ask.
it's not an intent thing. It's also
Yeah,
an ability thing, right?
yeah. I
So
was
So
should
yeah,
he
going to
bat
so
ask
above Dwayne Bravo?
Himanish that now that we know
so
that Dhoni has said this about his six balls thing as well. Okay, like Himanish, where do you think now Dhoni stands? Like, what is his role going to be in CSK from now on?
look, the only thing he can do in that batting order where you have 11 hitters is to come in the 18th over and just hit everything. Whether or not he executes it well is a different debate altogether. But he
Exactly.
just can't afford to walk in when the spinners are bowling over 14, 15, 16. He can't do that because he's unable to make any runs against them. So he
Exactly.
has to walk in at 18th, 19th over and try to hit everything in sight. Because literally, like he is wasting balls and he's going to waste balls whenever he walks in, apart from these final 2 overs. So
Mm.
that's why they have to kind of hide Dhoni because they have that batting order where they can sort of afford everyone to make a 25 of 30, and everyone can do that, and that's
Yeah.
what happened today. So the top score was 30 or something today, and they made 190. So they have that batting order to do that. Their problem is hiding Dhoni, and they have to make sure he doesn't walk in when there's spin going on. That is the only thing. Like they have to hide him like that. That's
And
the
it was
only
Right.
way
also
he
So
can be useful.
it was all the more baffling today considering there was Sam Curran, right? The only
yeah.
the I mean, you knew there's a Tewatia bowling.
Right.
Typically favorable matchup to two left-handers. You had Jadeja out there. You could have sent Sam Curran as well. And I don't think Sam Curran needs to prove on the basis of the last two seasons that he's probably going to be more useful to CSK in those last 5-6 overs than Dhoni, considering the way Dhoni starts off.
So there's this question. Do you guys think, from Ayush, do you guys think that considering the depth of their batting, the whole attitude should be to hit from ball one? I think he's talking about CSK here. So
Yeah,
who is
this
going
is
to
one
be?
more thing. I think they need to replace Ruturaj Gaikwad at the top
Huh.
because given the depth
Yes.
they have, they just can't afford him to be there and take 12 balls and make 8 runs. He's
Yes.
looking out of sorts. He's mistiming the ball. He's not in touch. They need to get Uthappa in. He's in form and just go bang bang from ball one. Don't worry about anything. I think they should do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also, if you watch the CPL, Darren Sammy for St. Lucia Zooks, he batted at number 9, number 10 when he realized he wasn't able to bat.
Uh,
And they had hitters all the way down, and they kept going out with intent. And they ended up as runners up in that league. So if you take the ego out of it and you bat at number 9 or number 10, there are other hitters at the top who will take care of it, right? So, like Himanish said, if he comes in the 18th over, if required, and has to make a few runs, that's perfectly fine. And I think Dhoni adds value as a captain anyway. He adds 3 or 4 runs with his captaincy. So it's not like he's going to be a complete passenger either. So I think you should just take the ego out of it and come in as late as possible, honestly.
see, okay,
And
now we have talked. Okay, yeah, sorry, Yash, go ahead. Yeah.
no, I was just going to say, I think Karthikeya was kind when he asked if it's only Bravo who he should be coming after. There's an argument for Shardul Thakur to go and biff it a bit as well, given the way he's batted of late for India.
Yeah, there's actually been a CSK match with Deepak Chahar has batted ahead of Dhoni. So we can make that also happen. But now that we have talked about CSK, what about Rajasthan's batting? Okay, Rajasthan's batting definitely looks like it's Butler, Samson, and then Prayers because there's no one else performing. Okay, I think they could. I think they must be regretting that that Robin Uthappa trade to CSK. Okay, that they must
Yeah.
be regretting that big time right now.
Hmm.
So, what do you guys think about that? Like, what could Rajasthan do now with their batting?
Shivam Dubey is a passenger in that lineup. So
Mhm.
I'd,
Okay.
I'd bring in
He's a
Mahipal Lomro.
passenger in all lineups,
Yes, yes.
not that lineup.
And this year, what have they done? They've actually given him number 4. At RCB, I could understand. They kept sending him at 6 or 7, and he had to hit paces from right from the outset. But now he's getting to face those middle overs, junk overs, and he
Hmm.
still bats like this. Then I think they should play Mahipal Lomro instead of him. But like I said
Yeah,
earlier, the whole lineup is inherently flawed against spin. So that they can't fix.
yeah,
Ideally, what you want is David Miller coming in between overs 17 to 20, Chris Morris coming in between overs 17 to 20 because both can't play spin. So previous to that, there should be some solidity in that batting, which is hard to fix if Butler goes.
I think the
If,
Ben Stokes
huh.
loss really hurt them, right? Because Stokes is someone who can come in at 4 and maybe stabilize that order if they want. But with him not there, they have no sort of content in that middle order. That really hurts
Stokes
them.
is more
If
versatile than Miller, yes. Huh.
if
Right? Yes.
Miller
Yes.
is given Miller is as suspect against spin, would it be better for them to consider Livingston?
Yeah, but are they going to drop Miller anytime soon after what he did last game?
that's actually a good question.
Probably
Yeah,
not.
I don't think so.
Hmm.
That's going to happen. Like,
Because
they must.
it saves two things in my book. I mean, yes, it's harsh. He did play a good knock, a match changing knock in the first game he played, but there's a like Karthikeya said a couple of times, it's a very suspect against spin middle order, and it's also a very left-handed middle order. Like apart from Riyan
Yes.
Parag, you've only got left-handers from 4 to 7.
Hmm.
Yeah, I would do that. I will do that.
Okay, I think we have talked enough about this Chennai win. Okay, let's go to the other game, which was in Wankhede. Punjab Kings versus. I think it was more Punjab Kings versus KL Rahul, but it was Punjab Kings versus Delhi Capitals. And before we like go get ahead of it, I want to talk about this thing. This concept called strong link and weak link sport. So strong link sport is basically when one player can have a major influence in the game. So that's like basketball where you can have one particular player doing everything possible because it's a small field. You have 5 players. That's basically 20% of 20% of one player is basically 20% of your team. So LeBron James has a lot more effect on his team than like say a Messi can have on his football team. And football is basically a weak link sport. Like Messi can be the best, but you need to have like 10 other players helping him out. That same thing applies in cricket as well, T20 especially. Batting is a strong link sport where you can get away, like one batsman can influence. There's no limit on how long a batsman can bat. He can bat 60, 70, 80 balls possibly as well. But bowling is a weakling sport where you have to like have five good bowlers because they can only influence 24 balls at a time. So yesterday when KL Rahul batted, okay, he batted 8.5 overs out of the 20 overs Punjab faced, and he severely affected that innings. Okay, Karthikeya, I know you have like a lot of thoughts about that KL Rahul innings, so
Hmm.
just take it away now.
So, like he was saying, how can a batsman play 50 balls and score 60 runs when the others hit what? 130 in the remaining 11
70
overs or
balls.
something like that. Something like that. Whatever. They were going at a much, much higher rate than him. And when I saw that bowling lineup of Delhi Capitals, they decided to drop Anudik Nokia. So that directly opens up the value of Chris Gale and Nicholas Puran in those middle overs. Because the only matchup that KL had to take on was Rabada. And he ended up getting out of Rabada at the end. That's a different issue. But it's genuinely baffling that one person can bring the team down so much. And it's happened last season as well. Last season against Rajasthan, I think he played a similar innings and they had 180 or something chased down. The match in which Gale hit 99. There was another
Yeah,
match in which Mayank hit 100 against RR and they lost that as well. There was
Yeah,
another
the
innings
the
against
Tewatia
CSK.
game. Yeah.
There was another innings against CSK where they made a big score and it got gunned down with 10 wickets in hand. So it's not like there's no correlation between what he's doing and the team results as well. So honestly, I have no idea why he keeps doing that because in the second over, when Mayank took down Lukman Mariwala, it was very obvious that he was a 220 surface. And 220 was almost chased down by RR the other day. So what made him think going at a strike rate of 120 is in any way excusable because you can easily anchor at 150 on that pitch.
So I have a couple of things to add here. Now, there seems to be this sort of idea that there's a causal link between staying in on the pitch and being able to hit the ball better. Whereas there's none, because even if you are set, there's always the chance that you'll get out. So, and you can't make up for lost balls. The 30, 40 balls
Exactly.
you concede in the first 10 overs, you've conceded them to the bowler. You can't
Exactly.
make up for it because,
Huh.
and so I'm looking at some numbers. So his 61 run innings was minus 9 runs compared to the average, given that the ground he was batting on and the
Huh.
phases he was batting in, it was a minus 9 runs knock. So I don't know what he was doing because he was also not trying to hit. He was trying to just defend. He didn't take many singles. I don't know what the logic behind that is. I
He
mean,
was probably
he
a
might
minus
think that,
20 giving that pitch.
yeah,
Given
so
that pitch, I would
this,
highball it to minus 20,
yeah,
minus 25.
yeah.
Huh.
So like 200, 210 is the power total on that pitch. And I don't know what the thinking is. Like, do you think that if I'm set, I'll be able to hit better? I don't think there's a correlation between that in T20 cricket. That is a good thinking in Test cricket. You get set and your innings becomes easier. But T20 cricket, I don't know if that works at all.
I think
He's
in that
essentially wasting balls at the beginning. Like, yeah.
I think in that aspect, one of the most harmful things to happen Punjab last season was that what was it 132 that Rahul hit against RCB, where
Hmm.
it had been similar, right? I mean, he did. I think in the last 5 overs of that innings, he made some 70 runs alone, 60, 70 runs alone. But that
Hmm.
was when that was that one game where Dale Steyn bowled to his last 2 overs in the IPL, arguably.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
I think you had Siraj bowling as well at the death in that game. So in that one innings where it worked for him, I think it sort of gave him an impression that this works. I can go completely to a 10th gear in at the
Hmm.
death, but it's not happening. I mean,
It's
Karthikeya, just off the
it's
top of his head, named 4 innings from last season. I was seeing some crick quiz numbers yesterday. I think 6 out of his 50 plus scores in the last 2 seasons have actually been negative impact innings for Punjab.
Yeah, so I'm looking at numbers from the last season, and that 130 run innings of his was plus 30, and almost all other innings are negative.
Hmm.
So all his other innings are negative: 27, 17, 29, 63, 28. 74, 69, 61, 46. All these innings are negative.
Hmm.
So if he's waiting to be set till the 15th over and then blast off, it's not happening. So what you end up doing is wasting balls and getting out after that.
And
If
how
you
many
were to
balls did? Yeah, go ahead. Go
sorry,
ahead.
yeah,
Go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
So if you were to be successful in staying at the crease and translating this into hitting later on, then this works. But it clearly doesn't work because he doesn't stay at the crease long enough to make up for it. So overall, he's losing out, and his team is losing out in terms of numbers.
Even if he stays at the crease and accelerates or whatever, who do they have batting few balls? They have Chris Gale, who played 9 balls. Nicholas Puran played 8. Shah Rukh Khan hit 15 of 5 balls. Huda played only 13 balls, not dismissed. So there's so many batting resources going for waste, right?
Yeah,
Even
yeah,
if he
yeah. They're
accelerates,
all
those
wasting
guys
all
can do
those
the same
hitters.
thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
those guys can do the same acceleration that he does. So all those 50 balls, whatever he's wasting, is completely useless, right?
Yeah, see, but this is actually a good question. Somebody has asked, how much did the previous innings play a part in KL's slow rate, the one against CSK? Even if it did, expected him to make adjustment as Mayank accelerated. Has the experience to understand. See, the one thing is, I have a feeling like obviously KL has a bat. KL can bat. He can go this. We know he has this gear, but then he knows that he has a lower order who can't score runs. Okay, when you have someone like Jai Richardson batting at 7 or 8, you know that your batting ends at some point. Does that play a role as well in how he plays his innings, or is he just playing too safe?
I mean, it did play a role, but like I said, in that second over, the second over is when he should have recalibrated. He should have
Mhm.
understood it's a 220 surface. Anything below that, they're going to lose anyway. And like we saw in that first game as well, when they made 220 on that surface, they didn't even need anything from Puran, Shah Rukh Khan, and all those guys, right? They lost only 3 or 4 wickets. So, and it's not a skill issue. He can
Yeah.
easily bat at a strike rate of 150, anchor at 150 on that pitch, with taking minimal risks as well. That's the ability of the guy, and that's what hurts the most.
See, you brought about that taking batting at 150 at risk. I think in the Delhi Capitals game where Pant scored 50 against Chennai Super Kings, you could see that he was attacking, but he was more than happy to play all those ground shots. He was not attacking in the air. He was playing. He was going for those boundaries. He was trying. He was looking for boundaries, but not sixes at that point, and that's fair enough because you have lost wickets. You have to attack, but you have to play the percentages as well. If you're going for fours, they're not going to get you out. Sixes might get you out, but fours, if you're going on Wankhede and if you're going to play that way, that's something KL Rahul is very much capable of. Okay, which frustrates you. It's not like we're not asking someone like Rahane to play in innings like that. We're not asking Steesman to do that. We're asking KL Rahul who has the gears to do this. Okay, it's frustrating that his ability is completely changed. Yeah, and this, like somebody has asked this question, what is the main reason you would say that a batsman as good in 2018 becomes so negative in his approach in the T20 from Sriram? Yes, you want to go with this?
Honestly, I've not really had a convincing answer for this. We've been seeing this for the last 2 years now. It's almost baffling. I mean, I think Karthikeya put it perfectly when he said it hurts because you've seen him operate that way. And you've seen him operate that way for a long enough period of his career to know that it wasn't an aberration. That is the kind of batsman he can be. Uh, for the longest time, I thought maybe he's taking a bit too much out of the captaincy. Like to me, I felt initially that could there be a very direct link with him becoming captain in 2020, and then maybe thinking that look, this is a slightly fragile batting lineup. I need to take this responsibility, but it doesn't add up because it's not just Punjab. We've kind of seen him get into this sort of a batting template the few times he's played for India as well in the last six odd months. So
Mm.
yeah, I don't really have a genuine answer to what's gone wrong here. What do you
It
And
might
guys?
also
just have
the
to do
batting
with
collapse
team
thing.
strategy, right?
Huh.
Because I think Punjab have told him to sort of stay there, right? Because they don't have that much surety down the order. I mean, they have hitters like Deepak Huda and Shah Rukh Khan, but these
Mm.
guys are not very experienced. Like Huda is, but he's not very consistent. So I think they fear that short batting lineup, and that's why they tell Rahul to sort of stay on. I don't know why India tell him to do that. I think that approach is changing, um, and might change in the near future. But I don't know. Maybe it's just a team management thing. Like they told him to play that role.
Okay,
And where
let's
you
say he does
can,
that. Then, when do you decide to drop it, right? Because at the 10 over mark, okay, let's say he anchors for 7 or 8 overs, and you've lost only 0 wickets. Then you cannot give an excuse saying they don't have enough batting after that. For 12 overs, 5 batsmen is more than sufficient. So when does he say, okay, we drop that approach and go after it? And if they want to artificially change that, are they going to bring in Fabian Allen or someone at number 7 so that he has that artificial security as well?
I mean, that's for them to decide. But yeah, so uh, I think it's about their balance. Like, can they bring in Fabian Allen? They'll have to probably drop one of the pacers for that. Are they happy with that? Yeah. But yeah, I agree with you that it should be kind of dynamic, right? So
Hmm.
if by the 10th over you are in a safe zone, then you should try and hit, which he's not doing. I don't know what he's doing. So
yeah, because even yesterday,
there
even
must be
after,
some plan. All right.
even
Sorry, go on.
yeah, I mean, just adding from what you guys are saying, even yesterday after Mayank's dismissal, which is at what 12 overs, 122, when he got out, I think Rahul was 47 or 40 balls while he was with Mayank. Even after that, he only added 14 of 10 balls. Now,
Right.
at least
You
at
know what
that
is the
point,
worst
you
part?
yeah, go on.
So when Chris Gale was on strike at the other end, he obviously had to rotate against Ashwin because we know about his matchup against Ashwin. And
Yeah,
KL kept giving him back to strike. I was watching and I was
yeah,
perplexed, honestly. I was like, what's going on?
yeah, because you could sense the kind of relief that Gale had. The first ball, he got a single, and he's like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm done here, I'm safe, but you're not.
Okay, okay, I think we have talked too much about KL now because but this KL innings though Marsh like one of the I don't know I was pretty pissed about it when it happened. Okay, it was a playing 11 decision by Delhi Capitals, and that was Steve Smith's inclusion. Okay, I have no idea how Steve Smith could improve on this Delhi Capitals batting, and especially when you drop someone like Rahane. Okay, you're just including you have a local talent for that. You don't need to waste an overseas spot on someone who bats exactly like Rahane. So Karthikeya, especially when you have Shimron Hetmeyer and Sam Billings, you could play with that batting lineup and include these two guys, and these two guys add much more value than Steve Smith. What did you think of that selection?
We spoke about it last time, right? I
Uh,
don't know what cricket Ricky Ponting watches and what cricket we watch. So that's blatant bias, right? How else am I going to explain that?
like I have no understanding. Like I was trying to understand what could be the reason. Like this, like one, this is Wankte. You don't need someone to anchor, and you don't need someone like Steve Smith who doesn't have the gears. Sam Billings, Shimron Hetmeyer could do the same thing much better. Okay, and
Okay, let's take the bias thing
yeah,
out. Let me ask a question. So, Hetmeyer started game 1. He batted 0 balls, a grand total of 0 balls. So, apparently, in the first game, Hetmeyer was above Steve Smith, Sam Billings, and whoever else. So, how is he suddenly down the pecking order after facing a grand total of 0 balls?
I have no answer actually.
I think they have a certain role for Steve Smith, and they thought they wanted that role more. I don't know what the role is. Okay, I don't know what role he can play, but whatever that role is, I think they wanted that role to show up the sort of top order, and that's why they brought Hetmeyer. I think they should play him at 3 or 4 and give him some time. Hetmeyer, that is. But clearly, they have something else in mind. I don't know what they have in mind. Yeah,
So,
it's very baffling.
I have somewhat of a theory, okay? So, last season, in game 1 against Punjab, he played Hetmeyer at number 3. And
Right,
Hetmeyer didn't do well. So my
right.
theory is he deliberately put Hetmeyer there, and he wanted him to fail so that he can change that. He doesn't believe Hetmeyer is a number 3, so there was just confirmation for him that he can't do it.
That level of malevolent design is like, yeah.
I
If
mean,
he
I'm just
really
saying
did
he
that,
doesn't think he's a number three. And there's probably confirmation for him, which is
See,
wrong, obviously, no?
yeah, see, the thing about T20, every selection basically there's a reason for it. Okay, like we might disagree how much ever we want, but every pick has like a rationale behind it. And how much ever you try to rationalize that Steve Smith decision to play him yesterday, okay, there's no plausible cause where you can say Hetmeyer. Okay, I would even add Billings. I would definitely put Billings above this picking order, but Hetmeyer would be my first guy definitely to play in this, especially if you want someone batting at three. How it doesn't rationalize. I can't get wrap my head around the fact that Delhi Capitals decided to go with Steve Smith ahead
I
of this Hetmeyer and Billings.
I can think of one. I mean, let me put it on the record. I'm completely against the idea of Ajinkya Rahane or Steve Smith being anywhere close to this Delhi 11 or most T20 11s. But if I'm trying to put like some Ponting lens on, I'm thinking maybe if he felt that Meredith and Jai Richardson could have an impact, even though they weren't actually bowling at the start, if he felt that they could dent the top order, did he perhaps think, since we're agreeing on the fact that he watches a lot of the Big Bash and focuses a lot on Australian cricket, did he maybe think that Steve Smith would be a counter to a fiery spell if it were to come from those two Aussie quicks?
Oh, you mean from Rabada and Vokes?
No, no,
No, no,
no.
no. From
Giant,
Jai Richardson
Riley.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and Riley Meredith
Meredith.
in
Sorry, my
Punjab.
bad. Yeah.
Mm,
I mean, it's far
potentially,
fetched,
but
but
I've
it's the only thing that makes like a tidbit of sense
I
as to
haven't
his inclusion.
ran the numbers, but from observation last year, Smith looked very uncomfortable against express pace. I haven't seen the numbers, but
All right.
that's my hunch.
So
Like
agreed. Then it makes no sense.
yeah, it definitely makes no sense. Obviously, like you can do whatever you want, okay. And Delhi Capitals, like how much I we say Rishabh Pant is a captain. Like I don't know if you have read this article on Telegraph where Tricky Ponting had a chat with Wigmore about it. Tim Wigmore, and he basically said that you could strategize every game plan in the match, okay, and that is what they do. Everything is planned by him and the management. So Shreyas Iyer, when he goes on the field, has very little to do, and I think that's basically what's happening with Rishabh Pant as well. Rishabh Pant just doesn't mind taking in the 11 which is given to him and going and doing the same thing. And
Obvious. Hmm.
if it makes sense, doesn't make sense, I don't think so. Rishabh Pant really cares, okay, about it. But it's a bit, it gets a bit weird when Ponting kind of like deflects that thing and says Pant is the captain. Or he has done that a lot this season. Actually, he has gone and kind of given the bad impression of Prithvi Shaw saying that he doesn't want to practice when he's not batting well. Okay, which in our society obviously puts like a bad image on Shaw. So I don't know. Like I don't know what to think of Ponting as a coach now, especially
I
when
don't think he's a bad coach, so to speak, because he's done a lot of things right as well. That's the
yeah.
reason why they've been doing well in the last few years. But like you
Plus, I
said,
think
they don't have diversity of opinions within the camp. So
Uh,
when something is bad, when he has a wrong opinion on something, there's no one else to give him a more diverse opinion on the same matter. So that's when it looks very, very bad.
yeah.
and
Yes.
from what we've and from what we've seen in the last couple of years with Ponting, I often get the sense that he likes playing this good cop bad cop routine with his players.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
And I think it gets weird because I don't know. I sometimes I see Ponting really praise Prithvi Shaw, sometimes really criticize. So I don't know where the guy is right now about anything, basically. Yeah, but at least yeah, I think enough from about the Delhi Punjab game. Let's go to the my favorite game actually of this round, Bangalore versus KKR. Okay,
really, that
and
was your favorite game,
no,
not the
like
one before that.
no. This is my favorite game because I got to see like two freaks play their like crazy innings. Like I can't even like Maxwell. Honestly, I'm going to be honest about it. I didn't expect Maxwell to be good as he has been this season for RCB. So for him to come and do that, obviously, like Glenn Maxwell is the kind of player like you watch and you want to feel, your heart goes out for him. Like you want him to do well in wherever he plays. So for him to go and do that on a pitch like Chennai. okay, was phenomenal. And then to add it, AB de Villiers playing the innings they did, okay, those two combined together, I think changed like whatever total was there. Chennai, the RCB thought they were fine with 160. Even Kohli said it after the match. They were 40 runs par, 40 runs above par. So this is what you get when you have like two freakish talents, and AB de Villiers, so we know what he's capable of. But Maxwell performing at this level is something which puts RCB as a batting team on a different level. Karthikeya,
So
your
it's very,
thoughts? Oh,
very
sorry, Himanish.
interesting. Very interesting. You mentioned that 40-run figure from Kohli because
Hmm.
I just calculated, and AB plus Maxwell together they were 43 runs above average in that
Oh,
innings.
damn.
So they are
Wow.
40 runs above average, which translated to a good margin for them. But
Hmm.
Karthik, please,
Oh, me? Okay.
yeah,
Yeah, what else to say about that? I think there's no other two batsmen in the world who could go out on that pitch and do what they did. Just take conditions out of the equation. Because when Maxwell came in, that looked like a 130, 140 track. Eventually, I think it was a 160 track, and like you said, they were about 40 runs above par. So, but the fact that you make 40 runs above par itself is crazy because, firstly, Maxwell, full credit to him because I think he broke the game before AB even came in. And AB from there, he got the perfect entry point, as has been the case in the previous games as well. He came in where he could just tap around Varun, get himself set, and then completely blast the fast bowlers. So for them, the
I think
stars are aligning. Maxwell's coming in right in that post power play phase where he gets to take time and then blast, and then AB comes in right before the death overs phase where he can take time and blast. So yeah, for now, I think the stars are aligning for them.
I think not playing at Bangalore is kind of a boon for them because their strategy is to outbat the opposition, but you can't do that on batting friendly pitches. Like it's harder to do that on batting friendly pitches because batting friendly pitches will elevate the quality of mediocre batsmen as well.
Hmm.
Whereas if you have challenging pitches, people like Maxi or AB or Kohli would really shine, and that is where the difference lies. So not playing at Bangalore is kind of going to be uh, a good thing for them that way, I think, and we're seeing that.
So wait, Himanish, what are you suggesting that they should do like how NBA teams do and threaten to leave Bangalore and go to somewhere else?
I mean, that'll be better for them, but they clearly haven't thought of anything else. So,
No, RCB without Bangalore doesn't make sense. But yeah, that is actually a good point. When you bat on batting friendly surfaces, mediocre batting also goes a level above. And I think that's a fair point because this was not the pitch, like you could see they were struggled. Padikkal was struggling a lot on this pitch. So it was definitely not easy to bat on. But one thing, Kartikeya, and I saw this on Twitter yesterday that Shakib, they said that the matchups, KKR got their matchups wrong. And I don't really buy into that.
No,
I
no. Hmm.
no, I
No, no.
think they got
I
their
think
matchup pretty much right. It was
yeah.
just that you have to give credit to the guys who batted.
Yeah, people are extremely being extremely reactionary, and it's because Owen Morgan comes with this so-called reputation of being a very good captain. So whenever he makes a small mistake as well, people amplify it into something extremely big. And like I told you guys in last round's review, Morgan got it perfectly spot on against Mumbai, and he almost got it spot on here as well, except that howler of bowling Harbhajan Singh in the 19th over. I think Shakib was the perfect matchup to Maxwell.
Mhm.
They were, and it was a two-pronged strategy, right? Because it would hold Varun back against AB de Villiers. So we have to
Yeah,
give credit to Maxwell there for taking
yeah,
on the matchup, bringing Varun on before AB came in. So I was watching the game with two other people, and I was literally saying the same thing at the time that happened. I said Shakib is a perfect matchup. They're holding back Varun as well. Both Varun and Shakib are going to benefit from that switch. But for some reason, people think, okay, if he's taken two wickets, what happens? Does his confidence level shoot up or something by so much that the his expected wickets are more in that over as opposed to coming in 2 overs later?
no, not at
No, right?
yeah. Is there
It's fantastic.
anything more you guys want to talk about this game? I think one
I
thing I like is Shubman Gill's approach in the start of the chase. He went out with this opinion like, anyways, 204 required. you have to bang or go home. And I think he did that very well. Actually, he was getting it all right till that one missed time shot, and that's when his innings ended basically.
Yeah, it was a bit relieving to see him bat that way because he, like his fellow opener KL Rahul, has made a few uh, incredible
Scary,
strike rate related comments. So it
very
was,
scary comments.
so it was quite relieving to see a
Yeah.
young Indian who's spoken like that, not actually following that on the pitch. But just to like jogging back, there's one number I pulled out on AB, which I really feel like sharing. The death overs in Chepauk so far, it's not been easy to bat at all for anyone. The contrast is literally why you call this man an alien, because if you exclude AB de Villiers, death overs, the run scoring at Chepauk so far is 8.1 per over. A wicket is falling every 6 balls and at an average of 8.5. AB, meanwhile, death overs at Chepauk is 75 for 1 in 30 balls.
Sheesh. My God.
Wow.
How
So
Wow.
8.1 including AB or excluding AB?
No, so if you exclude AB, the run scoring is
Excluding AB. Okay,
8.1
okay.
per
Cool,
over.
cool.
Yeah. And
All right.
AB is going at 15 runs per over.
how is this guy not playing international cricket? My God. Like, actually, yeah, he's playing the higher quality of in cricket and T20 cricket, so it doesn't matter. Yeah, but still, man, like I don't know what RCB could do. Like RCB have been really blessed with like two generational talents. With like Virat Kohli, not as you can definitely not say he's like the one of the best T20 batsmen, but he is, you can say, in the top 20 easily T20 batsman, according to me at least. But AB de Villiers as well, man, definitely the best T20 batsman in the world.
I think he's the
And
best batsman of our era, and if you consider all formats together, I think on pure ability and diversity and talent, he is the best batsman ever. I think because he can play your 30 of 250 balls, he can make 130 of 30 balls, he can do everything and anything on any pitch. So he's just incomparable. Like yeah, he's like an upgraded version of Sachin.
yeah, I went to watch. I was in Sydney and I went to watch his innings versus West Indies, right? South Africa West Indies match. So when I was
Mm-hmm.
watching, right, like I couldn't ever believe that this man is playing these shots.
Mm-hmm.
Like on TV, it's something different, right? Like it's something different. But when you're watching it live, the way he is playing
Right.
those shots, like I can't believe a man is actually doing that. Like a human being is doing that.
I
Like I
watched one of his blockathons live in Delhi, right? So in 2015, he made this, I don't know what it, 20 of 200 balls or something he made on a day five pitch
yeah.
against Ashwin and Jadeja. So that was amazing as well. So, yeah.
That's well, the guy is completely different. Now, okay, let's get to the final game: Mumbai Indians versus Sunrisers Hyderabad. Okay, and I really think again that I don't know, we can't blame Manish Pandey for SRH's loss anymore. Okay, because the guy didn't bat long enough to affect the game. So where did MI win this game, and where did Hyderabad lose this game?
I think Karthikeya will rank in this. Yeah.
Firstly, you can't say Manish Pandey had no role because what was the score when he came in? Something like they were going at
57
they were
on
going
my.
at 9 runs per over or something
Yeah,
like that.
57 in the power play. Yeah.
Right, whatever. And he made 2 of 7 without attempting to rotate strike before that.
Mhm.
And then he starts playing a big shot against Rahul Chahar, who has been taking wickets for fun in the last few games. So I don't know. I can't explain his innings because we can't explain any of his innings at this point. But I think Sunrisers missed a trick there by not sending someone like Abhishek Sharma, Virat Singh ahead of him. Because we know Mumbai rely on Rahul Chahar and Krunal Pandya, who both turn the ball away from the right-hander. So by sending Manish in there, you're essentially locking yourself out of options, right? So
Yeah.
I think that was a bad move. And then Warner's run out is just so needless because that essentially ended the game right there. We know after that no one had the skill to carry on. So that was there as well. And I think that middle order is just not IPL quality, the one which they played the other day.
Hmm.
I know they had promising youngsters in that, Abdul Samad, Abhishek Sharma, whatever. But They're not someone who are adept enough to rotate strike on that pitch, and we've discussed all that before, right? Not playing slog sweeps and those aerial shots and minimizing risk against spinners. I don't think they have the ability to do that. So yeah, unless it's just a structural issue of the team, I can't say anything more than that.
So
I
do you now have? Sorry, go on.
No, I wrote this about runouts, yeah, and that's the David Warner runout. Like, obviously, as a Mumbai fan, I was really happy. But the thing is, how silly of a runout was that? Because now like, I'm generally against taking risky singles in T20 cricket, especially when you know that per ball or run, like per ball, it's 1.35. The value of a ball is 1.35 runs. Okay, and you are risking your wicket and all the future runs you could get for that one run, which doesn't make sense. And for SRH, I think that risky single, especially with Warner, okay, is much more important because you are basically putting yourself in. You're not only running yourself out, okay, but you're jeopardizing the game over there, and that's all just for one run. Okay, I think Warner could have been off strike and scored a four and would have made up for those that one lost run. That I don't get this concept of running this risky singles, and I will never like stand for it. Especially even though Warner is someone who likes taking these singles, he should actually bin it now. Okay, and whichever the captain, even KL did it, even Pant did it, they should just stop. No more risky singles anymore. Yeah, my rant is over.
Yes, you wanted to say something.
Yeah.
No, I was going to ask: do you now have to get Kane Williamson in at number 4 the minute
Yeah.
he's fit?
Yeah, no doubt.
So who
That
goes out?
middle order needs him.
Is that a fit in quotation marks? Or like what?
Apparently he is fit. Apparently he is fit.
He is fit.
Right. So Mujib goes out. No brainer.
So
Mujib
Mujib
And then
is
goes.
not an IPL quality overseas spinner.
and you
Yeah.
get an Indian bowler in place of one of the young batsmen, the batters.
Yeah, it's not ideal, but it's the best fix at this point, right? Because Williamson is probably one of the better middle order batsmen, especially the type Sunrisers need, because they're going to get the start from Warner and Bairstow. After that, they need someone to hold at least one end together on their chip out pitch. So, yeah, I think Williamson would add more value than an overseas bowler.
And you have two more games as well in Chepauk, and then you have to go to Delhi as well, where you have another four games. So I think
Hmm.
if Kane Williamson comes in, gets him some game time, he could actually change SRH's batting to some extent. Okay,
Hmm.
but they have to do something about Manish Pandey. Okay,
Hmm.
they have to, and I think they have to like Virat Singh. Virat Singh inclusion was a good inclusion. Abhishek Sharma was a positive inclusion as well. So I think they are getting there. They just need one of their overseas players, the one of the overseas players, which is obviously Kane Williamson, now to come and get there, and they might fight for it now. They are much better fighting for it.
Yeah, and
I
someone with go ahead,
sorry,
go
go
ahead,
on.
Himanish.
Go on, go
No,
on,
no,
go
no.
on. I just think I feel very angry looking at SRH because it is a clear-cut case of suboptimal team construction. And you know the moment Bairstow gets out or Warner gets out, they're dead. Even if they have 50 runs to get, they're not going to get it. And it's very infuriating to me because it just dilutes the quality of the game you're watching. And they haven't set this right for 2, 3 seasons now. And they refuse to play Kane. I don't know why. So, yeah, that was my rant. That I feel very angry that it just puts up a very bad standard of cricket from them. And you know it's going to happen. The moment someone gets out, you know it'll happen. So that
Hmm.
that was my rant.
That is your rant as
Yeah,
a neutral. Karthikeya supports the
Yeah,
team.
yeah,
Imagine.
yeah, yeah. No, I've also gone through CSK last season, so I can imagine his plight.
Yeah,
Yeah,
what I'm going to say about CSK and SRH, both the debacles this year, last year for CSK, is because of all the success that's come before it, Sunrisers have made 5 playoffs in 5 years before this. And CSK, we know what success they've had. So that has probably blinded them from the team construction issues that are underlying there.
yeah,
Because
that's true.
if you look at it logically, given how Manish Pandey has been costing them games for like two out of the previous three seasons, I think
Hmm.
2019 was decent enough, and especially after he was dropped out of the team. Okay, you wouldn't retain someone like that for 11 crores. Okay, so I think that must have played a, like I don't know what you could do with that. You could have released Manish Pandey and I'm pretty sure at this point teams see the value or non-value in him to make. You could have gone for trades to find a better youngster required for him and make it work somehow or the other. But when you're blocked up 11 crores of your salary cap on one Indian player who's not performing, you limit yourself in team construction that way.
Hmm.
Yeah. And like let's talk about Mumbai's innings now. Okay, Pollard came in, and Karthikeya, you have talked about this, yeah. I written about this that
Hmm.
Pollard and Hardik Pandya need to switch their entry points. Okay,
Yes.
and why is that something which you have been like backing? You want Mumbai to do?
Hmm. So, like we discussed before, Pollard is better matched up against spin in overs, what, the 12 to 16 over phase, where he
Mm,
can smash spinners. And Hardik is someone who is pretty decent against full length pace. Hard length pace, he's still struggling now for some reason. But against full length pace, he can start his innings quickly. Pollard takes time to get in. So by sending Pollard in, he got himself some balls to get in against Khalil. And then he started hitting from that 1-6 against Mujib. So I think that's definitely something they have to stick with, because when Hardik comes in between overs 12 to 17, he also takes time to get in. So what's the point, right? Because Pollard is not a fast starter. He's going to start slow wherever he comes in. And if Hardik is going to come in early and start slow as well, that's probably not optimal. And so far, it hasn't been a huge issue for them because their batting has almost never failed over the last few years. But now that they're seeing that Hardik is struggling when he comes in prior to that
correct.
death overs phase, it's something they're probably recognizing and seeing they need to swap. And I think even in last year's playoff game against Delhi Capitals, they made that switch. Pollard got out for a duck, but they made that switch. So obviously, Mumbai recognized that in big games they're going to make that switch. So they know it's the right move. The
Yeah,
same thing
and
happens with Bumrah opening. Bumrah opened
yeah,
the bowling in every game in last year's playoffs. So exactly when Mumbai get to those kind of situations, they make the right moves. So prior to
mm,
that, they're probably experimenting sending Hardik in earlier, but yeah, I think they recognize it as well. So that's good.
yeah, yeah.
That's the
One
thing.
of Oh, sorry. Oh, yeah.
They've become that much better, right? This is
Hmm.
now a team that can experiment through the group stage
Hmm.
and then reach the playoffs and decide to do the best thing. And still, they have fans who want AB de Villiers joining them. There's no lack of selfishness.
See, I will think that if you want AB and Rashid to win IPL trophies, because those might be the only trophies they ever win. Okay, they have to join a title-winning side. That's all. That's all I've said.
Okay, Clive.
Okay,
Fair
you have
enough.
to. You
At this point, Rashid has a better chance of winning a trophy than AB, like any trophy. I think Afghanistan will win the World Cup before South Africa do, as unfortunate as it sounds. Poor
ouch.
guys.
Yeah,
Uh,
but one other thing is the when Karthikeya said that Pollard, I think one of Pollard's best innings last season was against RCB, the second match against RCB. Okay,
hmm.
and even in that match, Hardik walked out before him, but because we lost an early wicket, he still came. He had an entry point of 13th or 12th or 13th over, and he had enough time to settle down and then take apart the RCB death bowling.
Hmm.
So that is something like if Mumbai can really fix it
Hmm.
and really continue with it, and I think now some games here and there because of the pitch they have to go and take this extra advantage they get of
Hmm.
Pollard. I think
Yeah.
that is kind of like fair enough.
And
Okay,
also,
so
it's about switching that
yeah,
responsibility as well, giving Pollard more responsibility this year because it's the same thing. Hardik has had three failures, the same way Nicholas Puran also has three failures. They both are champion players, but when they're going through a rough patch where their techniques are kind of being exposed, you ease them into a role which is more suited to them. The same way I asked Puran to come in at 4 for Punjab, they can probably push Hardik back to that 70 to 20 phase where he's comfortable and ease them through this whatever tough phase that they're facing.
mhm. Okay, so before we wrap up, guys, okay, now like after three rounds, the teams are changing venues. So Punjab Kings and the Delhi Capitals are coming to Chennai, and Bangalore and Kolkata are going to Mumbai. So how do you think it's going to affect the teams? Like, Yash, why don't we start with how Punjab and Delhi going to Chennai is going to affect them?
I think we spoke. We went into a bit of this conversation for Punjab the last time we were chatting, when we were trying to discuss what they could do when they moved to Chennai, and you feel as though Fabian Allen is the one who should be coming in, considering he can give them that spin option. But I think Karthikeya went into the details, so I'll save that for him. Delhi, I guess. I mean, I don't think there's a lot they could change. I fear that because they're going to Chepok, just because of the conventional setup, we will still continue to see one of Smith or Rahane in the team in the name of a safe anchor. As much
I
as
think they'll
we've
be
all
more
discussed,
useful at Chepok, just like compared to
yeah,
Mumbai, right? Because they can play spin well. Not Rahane, but like at least Smith
my,
can.
my my argument though would be that this is the kind of venue where if a Hetmeyer goes and does his thing, you completely take the game away.
Right, of course. Of course.
And he has a happy past at Chepok too. I remember that century he scored against India in an ODI. So I would love to see Hetmeyer, but I don't think we'll see him. Uh, I also feel Nokia should probably be back, right?
Yeah,
For
For
I
Vokes.
Vokes, yeah. It's the right thing to do.
So Karthikeya, what do you think Punjab? What changes Punjab would do?
Punjab, so the good thing for them is Arshdeep Singh and Shami have been doing well so far. So, like I said last time, those two Indian seamer spots are locked in. So, they can afford to bring in Fabian Allen for Riley Meredith and they'll still be fine. So, that's the only swap I would make. I don't think I would change anything else in the team because they have the strategies are okay. It's just that KL has been pulling them down a little bit. So,
Do you want to maybe bring in Ravi Bishnoi
For Jalat
as
Saxena.
spin
for Saxena, yeah, I
for
would do that.
Saxena? Yeah.
Yeah, they'll probably
Yeah,
need a spinner.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Ravi Bishnoi would like obviously he didn't play at Wankhede because of the surface over there. So I think Ravi Bishnoi coming in would be like a really good move. And I think they were just saving him for that uh pick and like Sudhish, our friend Sudhish has asked Ravi Bishnoi as well. So I think fair enough. Okay, the fans want him. Why not? The other teams which are moving, Kolkata Knightriders and Bangalore, they are going to Mumbai. And I think I'm really excited about Kolkata and Bangalore sorry, in Mumbai because then their batting lineup could do some damage over there. They're like I see them doing some serious damage, and especially if you look at the bowling attacks they play Chennai and they play Rajasthan and Bombay. So I think there's some serious carnage could possibly happen if KKR gets their games day done. What do you guys think? Yeah,
Who's
Yash.
good? Yeah, go on.
Yeah, whoever it is, go on. Yeah.
I'm more intrigued about RCB at Mumbai. But to finish yours, yeah, I agree with the point you're making, Clive. That yeah, I mean maybe the kind of levers that we expect to see from that middle order of uh, Morgan Russell and Karthik, and also I mean they've got three stroke players at the top as well. So ideally, if you see the kind of Ankade that you've seen in most of the games that we've seen so far, I think there was just that one low scorer, which was Punjab's horror game. But apart from that, the generally high scoring kind of Ankade template fits into KKR's batting most certainly. But I personally am more intrigued. The point that Himanish was bringing about RCB benefiting from not playing at Chinnaswamy, I think the closest to Chinnaswamy sort of venue is Wankhede. And later on, they'll also play at Eden, but it remains to be seen what kind of Eden we're going to get. But these two games at Wankhede is where I think, like, I mean, right now, obviously, RCB winning 3 out of 3 at Chepok has been a bit surreal. But this is where I guess some of those familiar difficulties that they haven't been able to counter over the years at Chinnaswamy will present itself to RCB again.
I
Any
think the
changes
heartening thing
for
for
other
them
team?
is that sorry, yes.
No, I was asking whether you guys will make changes to any team.
What
I
do you
think
think?
I think RCB would. might bring in. Sorry, KKR might bring in Lockie Ferguson. I think they might have.
Yeah.
They might bring in
I
Lockie
was thinking the
Ferguson for
same.
Shakib. Okay, because I don't know what changes RCB could make. Maybe they might get in Navdeep Saini, but
Yeah.
that would mean they'll have to get one of Kyle Jamieson out, and they'll have to they have to drop Patidar as well, and then you have to Finn
Finland.
Allen in that. Yeah, so I think
I
that
think
is what RCB could go with.
I do think RCB will lose one of their spin. I mean, they're playing three spinners right now: Chahal, Sundar, and Shahbaz.
Right.
I don't think they're going to go in with three spinners at
So
Wankhede.
they'll bring in Christian for what's his name? Shabazz?
They bring in who?
Christian. Dan
Oh
Christian.
yeah. Then Christian probably comes in to add some lower order value, and you bring in. I think we were discussing the last time. Maybe a Saini comes
Yeah,
in place of, I don't know.
I don't
Oh
think
yeah, so
that's
so so
true
so
now.
so, Pa- so Patidar and Shabazz go out, and
Okay.
Christian and Saini come in. They can do that because they played only three overseas the last time.
yeah,
So
fair enough.
that's okay
No,
if
they
they
did.
want to compromise batting depth a little bit.
Hmm. KK? That is KKR's only move, right? Lockie Ferguson in and Shakib out.
No. That's going to change a lot of things because
Yeah.
then they'll have Cummins
Pat
batting in the
Cummins at
top
seven.
six.
Oh yeah,
That's
shit.
seven. Seven. Okay,
Top
whatever.
seven. Yeah.
That's very bad.
Yeah.
So
But
they'll
they did
probably
that a
bring
few
in.
times last season, so I won't be surprised to see it again. Cummins
That's
did bat seven a few games.
Cummins batted seven when they had Narayan at eight, I think,
Yeah.
or something like that. So Cummins at seven will be bad. So I think they'll probably bring in Nagarkoti for Harbhajan as well.
Uh,
Okay.
Maybe
yeah.
they could do
Yeah.
that.
Fair enough. And then yeah, we have discussed all this. But what about Delhi Capitals changes? What do you
I
think?
think only Mishra for Mariwala. It's probably the
Yeah,
only
and
change.
and then Punjab
Realistically.
Kings, we have gone with Bishnoi and all coming in, obviously,
Yeah,
definitely.
Bishnoi, Fabian Allen for Saxena and Meredith.
Yeah,
For Delhi, I'd like to see Nokia back, and especially if they intend on giving walks 2 overs at the death, then honestly, you have to be playing Nokia.
Yeah, I would bring in Nokia, Hetmeyer, and Mishra for Mariwala, Vokes, and Smith. Ideally, but that won't happen.
that's very positive of you. Very positive, especially knowing who's going to be the decision maker for Delhi over there. Okay. Anyways, I think guys, that's a good enough point to end the review. Okay. Thanks for joining me, guys. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Thank you for
guys.
having us. Thank you.
Yeah, this is आप लोग तो best logo to have this discussion with. So I think we can do this every round. We basically run this every round now, so we can just continue till IPL ends, basically.
We should call it something.
Yeah, I called it Cricket Spaces on YouTube. So if you guys have any other name suggestions and all that, because I felt that we started out Spaces, so it's better to name at least Spaces somewhere.
Hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyways, thank you guys. Thanks for joining me, and we'll see you next time.
See
Thank you.
you.
See you guys.
Thank you.
Bye.
See you. Thanks.
Bye.